If someone knocks on your door after midnight, you probably check who it is. Maybe a neighbor. Maybe a delivery driver who went to the wrong address. But if the person at the door already knows your name, most people would still assume it's someone they know. 5 years ago, a paramedic in Phoenix responded to a late-night emergency call. The dispatcher said it was a possible medical emergency. A man named Thomas Hale had called 911. He sounded weak, out of breath, barely able to speak. He gave the address. A small house on East Willow Street. The call ended suddenly before dispatch could ask more questions. Paramedic Ryan Caldwell and his partner Emily Torres arrived just after 2:14 a.m. The neighborhood was silent. Streetlights buzzing softly. A cold desert wind moving through the trees. The strange part wasn't the emergency call. The strange part was what happened when they knocked on the door, because the man who answered the door was the same man who had been reported dead inside that house 6 hours earlier. Ryan Caldwell had been a paramedic for almost 9 years. Night calls were normal. People get sick, accidents happen. But there's something about emergency calls after 2 a.m. Everything feels slower, quieter. That night the ambulance rolled through mostly empty streets. Phoenix looked different at night. Gas stations glowing under fluorescent lights. Occasional cars passing through red lights. The dispatch radio crackled softly. Unit 47 responding to medical call. Possible breathing problem. Caller, Thomas Hale. Ryan glanced at the MDT screen mounted on the dashboard. The address appeared, 2840, 1 East Willow Street. Emily adjusted the radio volume. Caller still on the line? She asked dispatch. The dispatcher replied after a short pause, negative. Call disconnected. Ryan shrugged. Not unusual. They arrived at the house 8 minutes later. A small single-story home, dim porch light. An older pickup truck parked in the driveway. The entire street was quiet. No police. No neighbors outside. Ryan grabbed the medical bag. Emily stepped onto the porch and knocked. 3 slow knocks. The sound echoed softly through the quiet street. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then footsteps approached from inside. Slow, dragging slightly, the door opened halfway. A thin man stood in the doorway, pale, grey stubble on his face, eyes half open like he hadn't slept in days. "Mr. Hale?" Emily asked. The man nodded slowly. Ryan felt something strange settle in his chest, not fear, just something off. The inside of the house smelled faintly like dust and old carpet. Ryan stepped inside. Dispatch said you were having trouble breathing. Thomas Hale didn't answer immediately. He walked slowly toward the living room. The house was dim. Only a small lamp lit the room. Old furniture, a recliner near the window. A television turned off. Ryan set the medical bag on the coffee table. "You called 911, sir." Hale finally spoke. His voice sounded dry. "Yes." Emily checked his pulse. It felt normal. His breathing was steady. "Are you feeling short of breath now?" she asked. Hale stared toward the hallway, like he was listening for something. Then he shook his head. Ryan frowned. "So why did you call?" Hale looked at them both. For a moment, he looked confused. Then he asked something strange. "What time is it?" Ryan checked his watch. "To 21 a.m. Hale nodded slowly. "That's about right." Ryan and Emily exchanged a quick glance. "About right for what?" Ryan asked. Hale didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward the hallway, the bedroom. Ryan followed his gaze. The hallway was dark, completely silent. "What about it?" Emily asked. Hale finally looked back at them and said something that made Ryan feel suddenly uneasy. "That's where they found me." Ryan frowned. "Found you?" Hale nodded. "This morning." Ryan straightened slowly. "Mr. Hale, what do you mean this morning?" Hale spoke calmly, like he was describing something ordinary. "I died this morning." Emily gave a short laugh, assuming he was confused or joking, but Ryan didn't laugh. because Harley's expression didn't change. No smile. No sign he was kidding. Ryan pulled out the tablet. "Sir, are you on any medications?" Hale ignored the question. He looked toward the hallway again. They said heart attack. The room suddenly felt colder. Emily spoke carefully. "Who said that?" Hale replied immediately. "The police." Ryan felt a slow chill move through his chest. "Police were here today." Hale nodded. "About 6 hours ago." Ryan stepped toward the hallway. Something felt wrong now. Deeply wrong. He turned back. "Mr. Hale, where did you say you were when this happened?" Hale pointed again. "Bedroom." Ryan walked down the hallway. Emily followed. The bedroom door was halfway open. Ryan pushed it slowly. The smell hit them immediately. Not strong, but unmistakable, the dull smell of something beginning to decay. Emily whispered quietly, "Ryan." Ryan stepped into the room and stopped. On the bed lay a man, flat on his back, grey skin, eyes half open, a sheet partially covering his chest. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Ryan's brain struggled to process what he was seeing, because the man on the bed looked exactly like the man in the living room. Same face, same clothes, same grey stubble. Emily whispered again, "Oh my God." Ryan slowly turned around. The hallway behind them was empty. The living room lamp still glowed softly. But Thomas Hale was no longer standing there. Ryan walked slowly back into the living room, empty. The front door was still closed. The house silent again. Emily's voice shook slightly. "Where did he go?" Ryan didn't answer. He walked to the small table near the couch. A landline phone sat there, receiver resting normally. But the small red light on the answering machine was blinking. New message. Ryan pressed play. Static crackled briefly. Then a familiar voice filled the quiet room. Thomas Hale, weak, breathing heavily. "This is a Thomas Hale. A 2840, 1 East Willow." A pause, labored breathing. "I think I'm having a heart attack." Ryan's pulse started pounding, because the timestamp played after the message, recorded at 8:03 p.m., over 6 hours earlier. The ambulance radio suddenly crackled. Dispatch calling. "Unit 47. Status check." Ryan grabbed the radio slowly. "Unit 47. We're inside the residence." There was a pause. Then the dispatcher replied carefully, "Unit 47. Confirm address." Ryan read the number from the tablet. 2841 East Willow. The dispatcher was quiet for a few seconds. Then she said something that made Ryan's stomach tighten. "Unit 47. That's not possible." Ryan felt cold. "What do you mean?" The dispatcher spoke slowly. "Emergency services responded to that address earlier tonight." Ryan's voice dropped. "Yes, we know." Another pause. Then she continued. "Paramedics pronounced the resident deceased at 8:41 p.m. Ryan stared toward the dark hallway. "Who were the responding paramedics?" The dispatcher replied immediately. "Unit 47. Ryan's hand tightened around the radio. "Dispatch. That's us." Silence filled the room. Then the dispatcher's voice returned, quiet, confused. "Unit 47. Your ambulance never left the station tonight." Ryan slowly looked toward the front window. Outside, an ambulance sat parked at the curb. Red emergency lights flashing silently, the side door hanging open. Inside the driver's seat, 2 figures were sitting, perfectly still, watching the house.